Hello everybody, this is Amin from searchengine.com, and today we're going to talk about something quite interesting, the Proton's first ever SUV, the Proton X70. Alright, so today Proton had a closed-door media preview of the Proton X70 and it's the finished product. So this is something very close that you're going to get in the market, maybe sometime in November. They didn't talk a lot about the specs and features, and it's mostly about the product concept and design, and it's kind of interesting, but I'm not sure if I'm convinced. But let's go down the product and talk about the product itself. So the Proton X70, which is kind of like this is the Geely Boyue, and it's the X70 is a car that's based very closely to this product. In fact, it is almost identical, aside from small design elements like the front grille and some elements within the interior and a few other things. But in terms of function in terms of look and features, it's identical. The other difference is that you get a right-hand drive model in Malaysia, of course, and some Malaysianized features designed for the Malaysian market. What are those features? It's not they didn't explain in the preview. What they mentioned was a lot of talk about. So we had the design head of Proton, Azlan, and he was talking about how they incorporated a lot of Malaysian elements and Malaysian design inspiration in the car. So the X70 has a strong shoulder line based from a tiger. The grille is like inspired by a bow, and a lot of the design elements inside the car has this thing called the infinite weave, which is inspired from a lot of Malay design themes. But I find it a bit funny that, you know, they talk about infusing the car design with a lot of Malay and Malaysian inspiration, but the car name is X70, which is not very Malaysian and not very Proton. Proton has a very long history, 33 years of building cars, and they've always come up with very Malaysian names, which I find very inspiring and very unique. Names like the Satria, Putra, Perdana, Wajah is Malaysian but also very universal. And when I spoke to a lot of the Proton people and asked them, why would you introduce an alphanumerical name theme for a Malaysian product? The answer was, hey, we want to make this a global product, a product that we can sell everywhere and not have problems with translating the name into other meanings, right? So, it's less complicated that way. But then I thought, hey, but Italian cars have Italian names, like the Maserati. It has a car that's called Quattroporte, which literally means 4 doors. And everybody likes it. Nobody has a problem with that. I mean, what's wrong with calling this car Bayu, which means wind? I mean, that's nice. So I had a problem with that. But let's get back to the car, right? So in terms of specs, it's powered by a turbo gasoline direct injected engine. I think it's a 1.8. They haven't confirmed it, but I guess you can assume that because the specs of the Chinese version has a 1.8 turbo engine. It's producing about 181 horsepower and about 235 Newton meters of torque. So I want to talk about that as well. So it's a 1.8 turbo. If you look at the closest competitor for this car, which is the Honda CR-V, that has a 1.5 turbo engine, and that pushes about 190 horsepower and around 200 odd torque. So as a 1.8 turbo engine, the power output is not that great. I mean, if you want to go all the way to the extreme, the Ford Fiesta, the current one, has a 3-liter 1.5 engine, and that produces about 200 horsepower. So I'm not sure. I think a bit more power would be good. Everybody likes that, right? Other than that, you get all the bells and whistles, almost the full suite of every technology conceivable packed into this car. So you get the automated emergency braking, You get the 360 camera, the blind spot awareness, I think auto cruise control, all that packed in. There's also voice control. If you want to tell the windows to open, you can just say hi Proton, open the window, open the sunroof. You get that, and you get a 6-speed gearbox. What's very exciting for me is the digital cluster. So the whole dashboard, the meter cluster is all one big screen. So the good part of that is that, you know, it's very customizable. You can change colors and stuff like that, and it's very modern. But the downside of that, you know, it can look kind of cheap because, you know, analog looks better for me as a traditionalist that I am. But that's pretty much it in terms of the specs. We didn't get to drive it, but the interior space, I think the CR-V is much bigger. So Proton considers this as a C-segment car, but interior-wise, it's not as spacious as its competitor, again, the CR-V or maybe the Sportage. In terms of fit and finish, that's the high point of the X70. It's very good. So if you close your eyes and you go inside the car and you open your eyes, you wouldn't think that it's Proton. The version that I was sitting in had Napa leather, and it is as good as any other Napa leather you can get out there. The fit and finish is excellent. The door handles feels good. It's solid. There's nothing to complain about in terms of the interior. In fact, it is on par with a lot of its more upmarket competitor, if you want to call it that. But yeah, it really feels high class in there, and I really like it. I just have a problem with space. But in terms of amenities, it has a plenty. It even has a full-size spare wheel, if you're into that kind of thing. Boot space is a bit small from the preview. And yeah, so there's 3 trim levels. The basic model, the standard, the middle range, which is called the executive, and the higher range, which is called the premium. On the basic model, you only get 2-wheel drive. On the middle and high trim levels, you get an option to choose between 2-wheel drive or all-wheel drive for both versions. The tires I saw on the premium was 18-inch, so it's 225 60 18-inch Hankook tires, if that's your thing. Yeah, that's pretty much it. So all in all, it's something that I'm personally very excited to see in the market because there's nothing like it. And if Proton can price the X70 very well, there is really no other option like it in the market. So if they can price it below the Honda CR-V, and if they can price it below the Kia Sportage, this can be very competitive. And there's probably a lot of people that's going to buy it. But here's the thing, right? In the presentation, Proton mentioned that SUV, right? So the global average, the global market share for SUV is 30%, and the market share in ASEAN region is 15%. But the market share for SUV cars in Malaysia is only 11%. So they've identified that Proton has a big opportunity to grow in a market where people are increasingly buying SUVs. And what that means to me is that there are people out, so they are targeting the Proton X70 to people who would never consider Protons before. And there's 2 challenges here. There are people who are buying cars in the upper market of the segment, the Hondas and the CR-Vs and the whatnots, and there are people buying SUVs. So these 2 segments would not even consider buying Proton because number 1, Proton is not upmarket, and number 2, Proton never ever had an SUV in their lineup. And my question was to the CEO, Dr. Lee Chun-rong, how are you going to convince buyers to fork out money and buy this car? And his answer was very striking and quite accurate for me. He said that the only way to convince people that you have a good brand is through product. And that's the one word that he kept repeating to me, product and product. So I guess he and the team at Proton are very confident that this is a very good product. And from the preview, I think they have something really special in their hands. But the question remains, if I go to a Proton showroom, there's a perception. It feels run down, it feels shabby. Am I gonna fork money to buy a premium car in a Proton showroom? I don't know. Is the product good enough? Well, from the preview, it's certainly enticing. The question remains, how will Proton price this car? And is it going to be attractive to you if you're looking for an SUV? So, I don't know. So Proton will have the car on display in 7 cities in Malaysia, including Sabah and Sarawak, starting from the 19th of September all the way to somewhere in November. A lot of the Proton people I talked to said that they are really pushing to get this car launched this year, hopefully within the November window, and they mentioned that the pricing is going to be really interesting. If you're interested in the Proton X70, you can place your booking starting from tomorrow, the 9th of September, and it's only going to cost you 1,000 ringgit. Bear in mind, you wouldn't know how much the price of the actual car is until it's made available. So if you're interested, go ahead and book the car. Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention, the High Line model also gets this really cool panoramic roof which opens up. And yeah, so this is Amin from searchengine.com, and that's a quick explanation about the Proton X70. As always, if you have any questions or comments, let us know in the comment section. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click on the bell icon so you get notified when we produce and publish new videos for you almost every day here at searchengine.com. And by the way, if you have what do you think of the Proton X70? What do you think of the specs, the look? Are you a Proton owner? Will you buy this car? I guess definitely if you like Proton. But if you're in the market for an SUV and you've never considered a Proton car, would you get this X70? And yeah, tell me about the name. I mean, I think Bayou is a better name than X70. Let me know in the comment section. Alright, once again, thank you very much, guys. This is Amin from searchengine.com. Catch you guys later.